So if you are a college student and decided to get an iPad, then you're probably confused on what model to get. This video is for you. I made a lot of research. I spent about 3 hours just researching all the iPads available right now. And I got you a list of which iPad should you choose depending on your situation. So me, I use an iPad, but I got mine like a year and a half ago. This is it's iPad Pro 2017, but I can't recommend this right now. So I divided this video into two sections. The first section is if you have a laptop and you want an iPad just for note-taking using a pen or an Apple pen. This pen. Because I think there is a difference. If you are using a laptop, then an iPad is just for note-taking. Then your iPad doesn't have to be really expensive or have many new features. It's just note-taking. And most iPads are good enough for that. So let's start with the first category, which is if you are using a laptop as well as an iPad. The first iPad is going to be iPad 8. I think it's really great. I won't go into details. I will leave some resources in the description if you want to watch a more detailed review of each iPad. But I think the iPad 8 at $399 is really a very good deal right now. $399 you can get a 32 gigabytes iPad 8, but I don't think it's 32 gigabytes is really great unless you have a subscription with Google Drive or something like that and use the cloud a lot. Then yeah, 32 gigabytes is enough, but I would recommend that you go for the 128 gigabytes model. The iPad 8 is really great. It's affordable and it's really powerful for note-taking. That's all you need. This iPad is all you need for note-taking if you just care about note-taking. You're not an artist, you don't want to watch Netflix on this iPad, you just want to take notes using a pen. Then this iPad is enough. Moving on to the second option, which is iPad Air 3. Now this option is if you want an upgrade from the iPad 8. It's more expensive than the iPad 8, that's why I'm hesitant about this one, but I think it's good. It's $400 plus. You can find it in many retailers or from Amazon as well. I don't think it's sold by Apple anymore, so maybe you won't even find this iPad anymore because there is the iPad Air 4, which we will talk about later. Now the only negative to these two, the iPad Air 3 and also the iPad 8, is that they are both they are not compatible with the second gen Apple Pen. You'll have to use this one, the first gen Apple Pen. What's the difference? It's mostly about how you charge it. You just take this off and plug it in like this. Boom. Yeah, it's a little bit weird, whereas with the second gen you can just stick it here and it will charge wirelessly. It's not that big of a deal, maybe it is for some people. They're both great, iPad Air 3 and iPad 8, especially the battery. Both are about 10 hours of battery, which is enough for note-taking. I mean, 10 hours of use, so it's pretty great if you ask me. It will maybe, if you are just using it for note-taking, maybe it will take you 2-3 days to charge it. Now the advantage of the iPad Air 3 is that you get to also get a 256 gigabytes model, which is not available in the iPad 8. So if you really want the 256 gigabytes, then maybe go for the iPad Air 3. Otherwise I would go with the iPad 8 and save up some money, unless you get a really good deal on the iPad Air 3. Now let's move on to the case where you want to use your iPad as your main device. So you use your iPad to attend your classes, use your iPad to paint, to watch videos, you use your iPad to whatever, to get into meetings, etc. In that case, then your iPad has to be capable of multitasking. It just has to be great, better than just note-taking. In this case, I'll recommend two iPads, the iPad Air 4 and then the iPad Pro. So let's talk about the iPad Air 4 because I think it's really good, especially at this price range. It starts at $599. This is a steal if you ask me, especially if you're using it as your main device. It's compatible with the second gen Apple Pen. It's also compatible with the Magic Keyboard. I think that's what it's called. These two, if you add them to iPad Air 4, you almost got a laptop. Well, not exactly, but it depends on what you use your device for. iPad Air 4, I think it's the best iPad available right now. Yeah, it's really great. The hardware is new. It uses A14 Bionic chip. I won't go into details. I love details, technical details, but I won't go into details. But it's just really good. The only downside is that it doesn't have 120 Hertz display. Doesn't really matter that much. If you'd ask me. Okay, it doesn't. I mean, it's good to have, but it doesn't really matter that much for most people. For most people, you won't even be able to notice it. Unless you're tech savvy, then you will. The iPad Air 4, I think, is my favorite iPad for this year. It's really good at this price range. It's perfect for most cases. Even if you're using a laptop as well and you have extra cash that you want to throw away, then get the iPad Air 4. It's really good. So why did I even mention iPad Air 3? To be honest, the only reason why I mentioned iPad Air 3 while there's iPad Air 4 is the price. So if you can't afford the iPad Air 4, then go for iPad Air 3. Otherwise, iPad Air 4 is just better than iPad Air 3 in all aspects, hardware, etc. It's just much better. Now the last iPad, we reached the big gun, iPad Pro, 12.9 inches. It starts at $799, I believe. The base storage is 128 gigabytes. I think it's enough. This iPad, I think, is a solid choice if you're going to use just an iPad because it's a bigger screen. It's 12.9 inches. It's much bigger than the previous iPads that I talked about. The previous iPads were in the range of 10 inches, 10 to 11 inches, but this one is 12.9, so almost 13 inches. It's huge. If you see it in person, it feels huge. I don't know why, but yeah, it's really great. And even though it's huge, the battery is still just like the other ones, 10 hours. So even though it's huge, still you're getting that battery. I mean, this is great, especially if you watch videos on your iPad. Then this is great. You add in the Magic Keyboard, and it's just like a laptop. You have a huge laptop. It's not huge. Well, this is a negative. Yeah, it's bigger than the other ones. The other ones are very portable. They're, squishy. You can just hold them. This iPad might be an overkill, if you'd ask me. It's an overkill. It's huge. But if you're just gonna use it a lot, you're just gonna watch videos there, you're attending classes using that iPad, then maybe it's worth it. So this is an overkill, but worth it. So we reached the conclusion. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the conclusion. In conclusion, my favorite iPad right now is going to be the iPad Air 4. Hands down, the iPad Air 4. However, if you only care about taking notes using an iPad, just taking notes, that's all you care about. You don't care about anything else. Just the notes. Then iPad 8 is great. You're saving money and it does the job really well. If you want to go for an overkill, go for the iPad Pro 12.9 inches. And if you can't afford the iPad Air 4, then maybe go for the iPad Air 3. Even though I recommend the iPad 8, I really recommend the iPad 8 over that. Just for the money. But the iPad Air 3 is better than the iPad 8. I hope that you got something from this video. I know it's really confusing when you're researching for a new iPad. I remember myself being lost. That's why I made this video for you this year. So I help you find your iPad in your price range and the best one for your situation. I'll see you in another video.